Okay, good morning everyone. I think we'll make a start so that we don't overrun. So a very warm welcome to everyone who's here and a very warm welcome to all of you who have joined online. We really appreciate you taking the time to share our findings with us today and have this celebration. So without further ado, I'll begin. So I first of all wanted to introduce the European consortium of with my colleagues who we've had a wonderful journey the last 4 years. So from Nord University, Lisbeth, if you'll raise your hand, and Ingard. From Aarhus University, Annalisa's flight was cancelled, but she's joining us later today. Birmingham City University, Fiona. University of Borås, here on the, raise your hands. Yeah, that's wonderful, welcome. Aalborg University, yeah, we're waiting on Stefanos from University of Iowa. I hope he hasn't got any flight problems. I hope I haven't forgotten anyone. Bournemouth University. And of course, a warm welcome from the University of Brighton. So who are we? So we are a transnational network where we have aimed to deliver a shared, and we've been sharing a lot, world-leading research and training programme to educate the next generation of thought leaders with the necessary research experience and transferable skills to deliver innovations in dignified, sustainable care systems for older people, including pointing the way to new care models and digital applications. So we started in January 2019, back in the day before the pandemic, and here's a picture of us, hopefully not looking much younger on that time. If we'd have known what was going to happen in the world and the context in which we would have to deliver this project with the impacts, particularly on older people, we might not have been smiling as much in that picture. But here we are, post-pandemic, and we've managed to deliver everything we planned in January 2019, which is why today is a huge celebration for us. And I have to mention our generous funding from Horizon 2020. This is now Horizon Europe. It's the largest research and innovation fund in the world, and we do believe, to our best knowledge, that we're the first group of nurses who've managed to secure funding from European training networks for an innovative training network, which is InnovateDignity, funded by Marie Sklodowsky-Curie Actions. And as all our early stage researchers know, we always have to use our project number, but that means that anyone can go onto the European Union site, they can put in that project number and they can see all about our project and they can see all our written deliverables. So it does have a very important purpose. And our overall aims reflect the Marie Sklodowsky-Curie aims for this project. So we've been working to train a new generation of researchers who we're going to celebrate today. You're going to meet them all, who are creative, innovative and entrepreneurial, that are able to face big challenges for social benefit. And I don't think there's any doubt in that, not least their own research, but also steering that research through a pandemic as well. And to be able to provide, we've been aiming to provide enhanced career perspectives in an academic setting, but also in non-academic centres that have got a lot of mobility across Europe and that are also interdisciplinary. And we hope we've gone some way to achieve that. And part of our purpose as well has also been to extend the setting of conventional academic training and to raise the excellence and structure of that training. And that has meant that we've been working hand in hand with some wonderful partners outside of the academic setting. So within InnovateDignity, we represent academic partners who are the European Academy of Caring Science. I'll say a little bit more about that. But we've also had the benefit and privilege of working with advocacy organisations, professional organisations, technological companies that develop technological innovations, and a whole range of care delivery organisations, which we hope have added a great deal to our project and will also help us to make sure that we have impact and can move our knowledge from the university setting outwards. And I wanted also to very briefly mention today as beneficiary partners, those of us in the Partnership of Universities, We have been working together for many years. I think we started in 2002 to work together in collaboration, and we formed the European Academy of Caring Science, where we have been trying to develop the theoretical base of caring as a science. We had, during this time, published papers. We've organised a biannual research conference, and we had been already, long before this project, facilitating some of our PhD students to move around European countries and visit each other. And we all share a similar disciplinary focus and mission, which I'll also say a little bit about in a moment. So we had some great big ideas, and we wanted to create a project and find some serious funding to help us deliver some meaningful work for older people, and also challenge some conventional notions in science. So we are a group who are committed to life world research, and that means taking a first-person perspective, understanding the world from the experiential, and being very open-eyed to how people experience time, how they experience space, how they experience embodiment, how they experience mood, how they experience being with others, and so on. And that has been always at the heart of our work within the European Academy of Caring Science. And then we had to find a way to turn that to what the European Commission wanted and their priorities for research funding. And the European Commission at that time are very concerned about healthy ageing. We've got a crisis in the population changes, and also in service delivery, with many failings. So we were able to tap into living well in older age within that healthy ageing umbrella. And a thing that was very important to us in the European Academy of Caring Science was the experience of dignity, and the experience of dignity for older people. And that helped us to focus and bring together 3 challenges. So we've delineated these challenges that these wonderful early stage researchers have been doing a lot of hard work to address. So the first one is focusing on investigations of practices of care from the perspective of older people themselves, gaining contextual insights to inform solutions to the challenge of failures in care. And a lot of this is it's all qualitative work with a life world orientation, and that includes ethnographic work too, because we think it's very important that we have observational work as well as first-person accounts and descriptions. And we also have sought to understand contextual issues that may impede or enhance the uptake of technological innovation in the care of older people, and we'll hear about that today too. And we want to understand the complexity and the impacts of gender in care, which is very under-researched, but also the impacts of gender within careers in care, and also careers in research too. So our overall programme aims have been to address the European problem of how ageing people can live well in caring, with a concentration on cross-disciplinary scholarship, to produce an evidence base through 15 research projects, and have all been interlinked with a series of integrated assignments, and then to wrap around that supportive interdisciplinary training. And some of that training we've had to do remotely, but thankfully some of it we've been able to do in person too, and we have been able to visit once the lockdowns were released. We have aimed to produce leaders well-versed in innovating care from standpoints within and beyond healthcare sectors, and you'll see that demonstrated today, and that can engage with technology, the public, policymakers for the benefit of older people in Europe. And our research has examined these 4 key things. So, evaluating care systems and provide analysis that make use of older persons' insights. We've examined and offer a range of conceptual, empirical and methodological conditions to help develop new innovations, including insights for digital technology that offer dignity in care and can point the way to that. We are providing an analysis of the impacts of different care on the well-being of older people, and examining the impacts of gender in care on the leadership of caring and science careers and the care workforce, all of which we hope we can inform sustainability through our impact work going forwards. So today is a huge celebration, and I'd like our early stage researchers to stand up. This is a celebration of their extremely hard work through very challenging times, and to say well done, and we look forward to hearing about your work in detail. I'm now going to welcome Professor Debra Humphris, who's going to invite us from the University of Brighton, and Debra is the Vice-Chancellor. Welcome, Debra. I'm going to change the presentation mode so everyone can see you. Thank you.
Well done, Kate. Thank you. So I'm Professor Debra Humphris, Vice-Chancellor of the University of Brighton, former nurse, deeply involved in and passionate about healthcare and well-being, and I'll explain a bit about why. I'm absolutely delighted to congratulate Kate and the whole team. Congratulations on this incredibly important work. The other element of this, which I'm sure we all celebrate, is that this is a European collaboration. I only wish we could find ways, and hopefully we will eventually through government, find ways to get back into Horizon Europe. It's a vitally important network for good research and for European networks. Now, this research is important to all of us now, the people currently receiving care, but this is for our future. This is how we create the conditions for what will be our destiny. Challenging patterns of care and models of provision needs that insight. It needs that research-based thought, that evidence to come to the discussion. But in doing that and ensuring dignity, it also requires you, certainly in your research careers, I believe, to challenge orthodoxies, to challenge the hegemony around what does care for older people, what could it be like? Because this is our future. Innovations in provision, in workforce, in education and training, in financial models are going to be absolutely crucial, not just across Europe, but across the world as we see the population ageing. And at the heart of that, we must keep dignity. This is you and me and my loved ones, our loved ones, at the heart of all of this. This is beyond us, it's everybody in the community. Listening to individuals and hearing about their thoughts about their care and their desires for their care is something I hope we should be starting to have a conversation about earlier in our lives. So I think this work is incredibly important. I'm really looking forward to hearing the work, and certainly from the early career researchers, congratulations. And to have done this through a pandemic is an incredible achievement. But I do this not just as I speak not just as a former nurse, but also as I speak from experience. My partner has dementia. She is currently in a care home as a resident. And I am just amazed every day by the generosity and kindness of the carers. They're not professionals, they don't have a professional registration, but they care. And how we find ways in which to truly value that and to give that the respect, I think is incredibly important. And I absolutely applaud the idea of caring sciences, but that reaches beyond professionals and the researchers. And we also know from a recent report from the NHS in the UK that there's about the same amount of care, if you costed it, the same amount of care going on in the community through informal carers as there is in the NHS. This is all of society, as a whole society issue. So your works and your ambitions to really take forward thought leadership for social benefit in the care of those who are there now and those of us who will be there in the future, I applaud. This is vitally important work, and I am absolutely delighted that the University of Brighton, and through Kate and the team and all of you, have been taking this forward. So thank you very much. Have a fabulous conference.
Thank you very much, Debra. Thank you. So I just want to set the scene a little bit, and I'm going to talk about the first research area or theme, which is dignity within the digital. And then Stefanos will say a little bit about the living well in care, and Fiona, gender in care. We're going to launch our animated films that are for public engagement during this session as well. So this dignity in the digital will come along with gender and care towards the last part of the session. So this is the team. So there's myself, Theophotos from the University of Brighton, Lisbeth and Ingart from Nord University, Abram Kebede, University of Brighton, Moonika Raja from Nord University, Shuvarthi, Bhattacharjee from University of Brighton, and Rada Sandic Spaho from Nord University. Let's see if I can get this to go. So what have we been trying to do as a collective across our work theme? So we have been investigating theoretical underpinnings that can conceptualise dignity to inform future digital supports for older people. And we've also been analysing methodological challenges and the usefulness of co-design in technological innovation, particularly in the field with older people. And we are now attempting to develop a theoretical foundation for directions in digital technology that's got transferable benefits for older people and specifically for the care sector. And we've scoped future old person care perspectives, concerns, issues and needs in relation to the digital age, and it has challenged our assumptions on the way. So these are the challenges that this work package undertaking research has been trying to respond to. So we have aimed to conceptualise older people's participation as a core principle and methodological element to lead care system developments, to be responsive to what it is like for older people, and at the same time seek critique from older people to inform and shape new models and solutions for dignified care. Now that seems very familiar and everyday to us, but it's very challenging for a world in which the dominant approach to science is very different to that. So this is very challenging. We are doing something very new. So with our focus on living well, this is of crucial importance given the numerous failings in care that we have across Europe, and very importantly, where older people as a group have been negatively framed as burdensome, problematic, costly, and presenting potentially insurmountable challenges, all contributing to negative societal stereotypes, constraints on innovation with and for this group, and challenges in workforce recruitment. And hopefully we can offer just a little clinch into this challenge. And our focus on dignity is really important so that we can understand living well. And we've defined this as a first-person experience where older people have a sense of their own intrinsic worth or otherwise, or from a third-person perspective where others, that is, seeing older people as dignified in their comportment or bearing, and how situations can be described as dignified or not. So the terms dignifying or undignifying describe ways in which actions or processes create a situation of dignity or indignity. So that has been guiding us. And importantly, quite an old report now, but World Health Organization report concluded that technological innovation, together with new forms of service delivery organisation, offer solutions to home care in Europe, provided that care systems can enhance integration. This completely underlines that while new technologies offer great potential for innovative systems of independence, we need older people themselves. We need more research on interaction between older people and specific technology solutions. And to make an impactful difference, technology uptake needs to become inseparable for the practices situated in its use, so that we can move older people from a passive role to one with agency in technology engagement. And that includes a focus on unobtrusiveness and building existing research into the social implications and ethical demands of new care technologies. So InnovateDignity seeks to understand older people's perspectives and responses to technological innovations, and additionally offers co-design opportunities. So our overarching findings are about these four things: the potential limits of innovations given by technology, how new care models using digital technology may be positively embraced to support living well, dignity in care in using technology, how it is experienced by older people and how it could be enhanced. And also this group have also taken some very good scoping work which will be published about the role of non-governmental organisations in supporting older people in digital technology. So over the last 4 years we've done in-depth qualitative work that includes conceptual analyses of dignity with a life world focus an investigation of how key concepts can emerge and be translated into digital care innovation. We've undertaken analyses of participatory research and co-design for digital developments that can also provide an insight for human dignity. We've been investigating older people's perspectives and concerns, including the oldest, over 75 years, and also in palliative care contexts. And the secondments in this theme have had exposure to non-academic settings with a focus on key digital topics and applications, processes and ways to bridge gaps between developers, practice, policy. And our partners have been CareIn in the United Kingdom, a company that developed technology for care homes. Posifon AB in Sweden, who also developed technology to keep people well and safe, independent, and also to manage medications. The virtual wards at Bodø municipality in Norway, and the Danish Nurses Organisation. And our very distilled findings are that older people have experienced digital technology as life-enhancing, and the very, very opposite, and is very stark in the pandemic too. Digital technology can enforce negative stereotypes of older people. It can impact identity and a sense of being able to be in charge of oneself or agency. Digital technology has got huge benefits, but it causes feelings of being lost in the digital world and can give rise to more helplessness for older people. And a big thing that came out was that trust and privacy are crucially important. We did expect that, but it's extremely complex to manage trust, privacy, the digital world, and the ethical challenges, and that's going to require a lot more work. And we have a short film to play later in this session that will give us the overall findings, and Abram, Shuvarthi, Moonika and Rada will share some specific findings from their studies. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kate. Hello, everyone. Great to be here. Great to see all of you. Thank you, Fiona, for hosting us, and it's a great place to be. Just picking up where Kate stopped. My name is Stefanos, Mantzoukas, and we were responsible for a second work package. It included a total of 8 projects, and so our aim was to research how older people experience a range of caring systems and how they are able to live well with dignity within those systems. So the aim was to look at into yeah, thank you. I thought I did something there for a minute. Yes, our aim was to look at caring systems and how people are able to live well within these caring systems, how they are able to achieve a sense of dignity and well-being within caring systems. We used observational and qualitative methodologies, including ethnography, phenomenology, participatory action research, to uncover the depth and insights that inform the caring systems in the diverse care contexts that exist across Europe. Also we focus on analyzing to develop new insights, challenges, and directions for caring modules. In essence, we intended at the end of this project to provide recommendations on how care systems can alter their practices, or possibly the way they organize and manage the caring process. So yeah, we try to develop new insights and challenges and directions based on evidence in terms of providing and developing the caring context and the caring systems, and focusing on different models of care within these caring systems, and eventually evaluate the care practices in these new caring systems from the perspective of older individuals. So the focus was always older individuals, but also within context and in relation to other people and where the care took place. This work package has 8 ESRs. Obviously, there were a few people coming and going during the project, but these are the names currently in the project: Panayota, Adam, Jessica, Aline, Meta, Emma, Mavis, and Caroline. And they're from the University of Fiona, Bournemouth, Linus, Aarhus, Aalborg, Bournemouth, and University of Borås. And all of them, all ESRs have completed their placements. I have a small question mark for Jessica. I had to have updated information, but I'll get it from Jessica. That this is explored, you explored the life world of elderly individuals undergoing rehabilitation that had acquired brain injuries and their perception of well-being within the formalized care systems. Adam explored the lived experience of control and well-being of older people living with frailty within the healthcare service provision in southern England. Panayota has completed her dissertation. Adam is in the final stages of writing up his dissertation. Jessica focuses on supporting older people with severe mental illness and is in progress. Eileen focuses on older people, patients and relatives' perspectives on hospital, home transition in the very early discharge. And Eileen is in the final stages of writing up her thesis. Meta dissertation is focused on the development of new ways of cooperation between hospital nurses and home care nurses in the very early discharge from acute care. And Meta is in the final stages of writing up her thesis. Emma thesis focused on well-being in very old age and ethnography on institutionalized aging in northern Denmark, and Emma has completed her thesis. Mavis focused on exploration of middle-aged and older people, perspectives of future home care in the United Kingdom and principles for its design, participatory action research, and Mavis has completed her study, and Caroline focused on requirements of competence in municipal care and is in the final stages of writing up her thesis. A set of articles, book chapters, conference papers have been produced, are in progress and are under review. So, summarizing the key findings, trying to synthesize what emerged from these 8 different studies is that older individuals requiring care due to aging, frailty, acquired brain injuries, etc., these changes unavoidably create a change in their lifestyle, people that require this type of care. These changes often imply some form of diminished autonomy they previously had. So these people, their autonomy is impacted due to their condition. Accepting the changes and adapting to the new life or new lifestyle is essential to their sense of well-being. Inability to accept changes creates a sense of suffering to these people. The acceptance of changes and adaptation to new life or new self requires the other. This is a key finding that kind of reiterates across all projects, is that people, older individuals, in order to adapt to their new lifestyle and progress to a sense and have a sense of well-being, they need others, and they need the support process and collaboration with others, and develop supportive relationships either with families, relatives, health professionals, social networks, etc. Hospital-based care provision is highly structured, and the emphasis is on health professionals rather than people that need care. The healthcare provision maximizes independency, whereas these people require a sense of relationship with others because they don't have this sense of autonomy anymore. And if you overemphasize independence, it becomes restrictive for them. Hospital-based care is highly task-orientated, routinized, and hospitals are understaffed. Hospital-based care provides degrees of safety and comfort, but it also limits the development of well-being sentiments because patients either adapt the role of a good patient rather than developing themselves and adjusting to their new condition, are unable to accept their new reality, and not capable of developing future plans. Healthcare systems need to maintain support and relationships after the discharge of older people, so either at home or hospice. So there needs to be a follow-up of their care trajectory and needs. Holistic, non-fragmented, long-term relationships with healthcare professionals and specifically nurses enable the development of safe, nurturing, collaborative, enriching, and confident environments. Health professionals ought to stimulate, ought to simultaneously support family and relatives to become part of this new environment and contribute to their caring environment. And the above preconditions are considered preconditions for dignified and humanizing care and for creating a sense of well-being in older individuals. So if I was to summarize with one sentence, the key message is that people to adapt to their new conditions and acquire a sense of dignified and well-being. They need a constructive, supportive, and interactive environment where relationships are developed between health professionals, family, and networks. So that is in a nutshell what the work package 2 is all about. Thank you.
Living well in care systems. As the InnovateDignity research group, we've been working across Europe researching with older people to investigate living well in older age, and in particular living well in the context of the many care systems we have for older people in our countries, specifically the United Kingdom, Greece, Sweden, Denmark and Norway. People experience care in different ways. For example, transition from hospital to home care, in care homes, rehabilitation centres, mental health services, general practice and community-based services. We have talked with older people and their family carers, and in some cases we observe care settings and also talked with nurses providing the care. We listen to older people who need rehabilitation, for example after a stroke. We've talked with the very oldest nursing home residents, older people who are considered frail, older people leaving acute hospital and planning care at home or in a residential setting, and older people in palliative care. In all these research projects, we have focused on well-being and living well in older age. Our findings shed light on care environments, including transitions from hospital to home, and reveal understandings about the meaning of care that is trustworthy and human relationship focused, and the tension between the kinds of existential well-being and its absence suffering described by older patients and their relatives during the transition from hospital to home. In our societal value system, dependence is considered to be the ultimate failure. What our findings illustrate, however, is that dependence itself is not necessarily experienced as difficult, but the quality of the caring relationship is crucial to the experience of well-being. Retaining agency and desired possibilities in life through supportive relations is key. As older people's bodies changed, they lost trust and confidence in their bodies, leading to a shrinking sphere of influence over their world. Here, having a new sense of control was paramount, and professionals can prioritise and offer control rather than take it away. Older people can spend long days with existential needs unmet. This has been called bare bones care, in contrast to heart-filled care. Further, to live a good life in care sometimes means staff and older people enjoying effortless activities together to lift their spirit of joy in life. Through all care settings, the early development of trustworthy relationships, actions to enhance a sense of belonging, at-homeness and identity are essential and was often missing. Older people told us what they want from long-term care. They want emotional, not just practical support, a sense of control over what is happening to them. Older people argued that much earlier assessment could help prospectively to think about life changes and potential future home care, even residential or live-in care needs. Central to any care setting is supporting growing older and simultaneously feeling good.
Good morning, everyone. I want to start by saying what a privilege it's been to work with such a wonderful group of people over the last 4 years. I'm Fiona Cowdell, and I've been leading the package of work around gender and sustainable care with many colleagues involved. Perhaps most importantly, our 3 doctoral researchers, Jamie, and I have to say, actually, I can't see anyone because I've got my reading glasses on. So Jamie, can you wave around? Thank you. Joanna and Lambrini, thank you. And Emma, who was heavily involved in the short project for this, and also our lovely supervisors, Stefanos, Christina, Elizabeth, Lena, and Rob, who can't be here today, but who we saw yesterday to thank him for all his work. I'd also like to do a special thank you I'm going to embarrass Kate because I think we need to thank Kate for her leadership in all of this, and I just want to make sure we get that in there today somewhere because it has been an epic effort. Also, our partner organisations. We so wouldn't have done it without you, Kate. Thanks also to our partner organisations, and in particular Belong, where Jamie did her work, which is a group of care homes that really push the boundaries in terms of trying to provide dignified care, and to our colleagues at the Royal College of Nursing, and in particular Dawn, who's at the back. Put your hand up, Dawn, please. Who did a lot for us back in the day. She's moved on to a new career now, but thank you for all the work that you have done for Innovate as we've gone along. So, gender and sustainable care, an interesting mix of things, but both incredibly important. So, we faced two challenges in this work package. One, our population is ageing, and we need people to look after us, and you know there are a lot of us in the room who are getting quite a bit closer to that time. So we need to look at our workforce and make sure we've got a workforce who can deliver good care, and we also need to look at a lot of the challenges around gender imbalance in our workforce. We also need to have practitioners who understand and who are sensitive to the impact that gender imposes. So there are lots of differences in perceptions about care between older men and women, and we need to really understand a bit more about that. And our work has spanned a great breadth. So we've done our ESRs, Emma, Jamie and Lambrini have done an analysis of gender retention and career pathways for leaders in care, and they've looked at European gender balance of leaders in nursing. That's one end of the spectrum, and then we've done 3 PhDs actually looking much more into the nuances of gender in terms of care delivery and care experiences. Obviously there are posters here, and all the doctoral students are going to be presenting their own work, so I'm only going to just give you little tiny edited highlights of what's been done. But in terms of the Nursing Leadership Short Project, the ASRs looked across Denmark, England and Greece, mapping patterns of what goes on in leadership. But if we just bring that down to a fairly local level, just in England, never mind the UK, at the moment, 90% of our nurses and health visitors identify as female, but only 10% of our student nurses identify as male. So we've lots of potential to get more men into nursing, but we also need to look at leadership pathways for female colleagues, because at the moment men hold 1 in 5 of the best paid jobs in nursing, and men are systematically overrepresented in higher pay bands. We need to work on that, and I'm sure the ESRs will tell you more about some of the ideas that have come up about how that might happen. Moving on to the 3 students' projects, I've just picked out things that have really struck me as somebody who's spent very many years in clinical practice, and they're probably quite different from perhaps the things that the ASRs will talk about later. I looked for images of older people, and I'm really struck by just how stereotypical they are, and finding positive images of older people is actually not easy, and again something that we need to be working on. So I've used the best I could find at the moment, but they're not necessarily as good as I'd like. So Jamie looked at gender in care homes, and I think that the thing that struck me most about that is just the sheer rarity of being able to do an ethnography in a care home, and the depth of learning about living alongside people for protracted periods of time, and the ethics of doing that, which I'm sure Jamie will talk about later, but the ethical complexities and getting that right and being respectful of the fact that Jamie had been invited to live in somebody else's home for weeks, even months at a time. And talking about the gender stereotyping that goes on in care homes, probably on a very subconscious level, but still very powerful. And perhaps a bit of lack of thought about how femininity and masculinity are expressed by residents, and whether we need to be thinking a little bit more deeply about that. And one of the things I'm really quite proud that Jamie's going to achieve is giving back to Belong, which is the organisation where she was working. And Christina, Jamie and I are looking at ways in which we can give back and perhaps help them to think slightly differently about the care that they give. So I think that that's a great positive. Joanna looked at gendered experiences of providing informal care for older people in Greece, and she's taught me so much about different cultures and different structures and the almost absolute delineation of male and female roles, particularly for older people in Greece, and has made some fantastic arguments for the need to transcend these gender binaries and expand possibilities to diminish caregiver burden, which is such an issue. And Lambrini finally has looked at gender and older persons nursing, and looking at both demanding and rewarding elements. And I think one of the things that we need to seriously think is how much we don't necessarily value older person nursing as a specialty in its own right, and how much we need to think about the complexities of looking after people often with multiple health problems. And we underplay that, and it's time to start showing what a fantastically skilled and important specialty it is. And we need to think about how we can adapt to nurse education so we're preparing people to take on those complexities. So a work package in which an enormous amount of work has been done by all, and we now intend to use that to influence policy. We've developed a whole range of resources. You saw one animation, we'll show you another one in a minute. We've got public events and publications, conferences, education, and obviously a call for much more research. So we've still got a long way to go. So thank you to everyone, and congratulations to the SRs on their fantastic work. Thank you.
As the InnovateDignity research group, we've worked with older people and healthcare providers to better understand their experiences of the digital world and the adoption of technology in everyday life and in care, and to gain understandings of the ways gender and age nuance one another into old age, and how this shapes experiences of older adult care as we increasingly rely on family caregivers. Our world is ever more digital. We've learnt about how dignity is supported, undermined or assailed in the digital world. Technology shapes the sense of self, agency and identity. Older people, subject to societal demands, are thrown into situations where they have to acquire new technological skills at speed. We talked with those fully engaged with digital technology and those who did not adopt any technology at all. In our research, older adults have experienced telehealth and digital devices making life easier, and the opposite. A sense of feeling lost in the digital world. In healthcare, a rise in a sense of helplessness with increased sense of dependency on other people through technology. Older people expect technology will provide safety, but it produces overwhelming feelings of insecurity concerning privacy, loss of the relational with healthcare providers, the human face of technology. On one hand, it can reinforce negative stereotypes that older adults are incompetent technology users, and on the other hand, it can facilitate inclusivity and empower older adults to assert their agency. Different eHealth solutions for medications, for remote monitoring of health measurements from wearable devices, for patient records and so on, are not always interoperable. They don't communicate together. Health professionals find it increasingly hard to get the overall picture from fragmented pieces. Caring holistically risks becoming lost. The intersection of age and gender. Gender can be seen as a social construct which follows us through the life course and impacts living care contexts too. We continue to change and adapt our identities throughout the life course. We do not cease to do so at retirement or as we age. For spousal caregivers, the experience of gender starts and becomes apparent to them when faced with demands in caring, especially when traditional gender roles are deeply embedded and disrupted. Within the care home institution, the promise is to provide the full spectrum of care under one roof, but our findings tease apart unhelpful reductionist attitudes. Age is often medicalised, defined by physical and mental ailments associated with frailty and cognitive decline. However, treating the body is only a part of what is needed in residential and home-based care, and obscures the importance of how gender and older age nuance one another.
So I'd now like to warmly invite and thank very much Shaun Lenister. And Shaun is the Digital Inclusion and Communications Officer at Glasgow's Golden Generation. And he's very kindly agreed to share with us the work that they're doing in Glasgow as a way to see illustration of our digital world and the kind of supports that older people need and benefit from. So a very warm welcome to you, Shaun. I'll hand over to you now, and thanks in advance. Thank you.
Hi everyone. Sorry I couldn't get down there today. I was looking forward to it, but at least we can do it this way anyway. So like Kate said, my name is Shaun Lenister and I'm Senior Digital Inclusion Officer at Glasgow's Golden Generation. So Glasgow's Golden Generation, it's a charity for older adults living in Glasgow. We were established in 1948 as the Glasgow Old People's Welfare Association, and we're now in our 75th year. So back in 1948, it was recognised that there was a need to tackle loneliness, which impacted the lives of many older adults. To the present day, this remains central to the charity's work. We have a number of services, including 2 day centres where older adults can spend the day with us and get a hot meal, socialise and take part in activities with other service users. Our befriending service pairs older adults with a volunteer who supports them with home visits and phone calls to help with loneliness and isolation. We offer support with welfare and benefits advice to ensure that our service users are getting the benefits that they're entitled to. We're also affiliated with 19 self-run clubs throughout the city that we help support with a little bit of admin and applying for grants for activities such as day trips to the beach and access to transport. And then finally, our digital service, which was launched as a result of the COVID pandemic. This service helps older adults in Glasgow get online to connect with others, explore the online world and gain access to services that they may not have been aware of or might not have been accessible without access to the internet. Much has changed over the years, but the support that we're offering to older adults in Glasgow is better than ever. So back in early 2020, everybody's world changed. We were all forced to spend a lot of time indoors throughout the pandemic, which inevitably had an impact on everyone's mental health. Through the nature of our work, many of our service users were already quite isolated and lonely, and for some, coming to our day centres and attending the clubs might have been the only social interaction that they were experiencing throughout the week. In March 2020, our day centres closed, and we had to act fast to make sure that our service users didn't feel like they'd been completely cut off from the rest of the world. Across our teams, staff members and volunteers made daily calls to service users to have a chat, see how they were doing, and to make sure they had food in their home. Throughout the early lockdowns, we made more than 12,000 welfare calls and delivered more than 10,000 food parcels of essential items. However, it was clear that we needed to do more to try and combat the social isolation that our service users were experiencing. Through various grants from Glasgow City Council and the Scottish Government, we were able to purchase tablet devices such as iPads and Lenovo tablets. Our staff and volunteers were working round the clock to set up the devices, preload them with some simple apps, and do doorstep deliveries to give as much of a tutorial as possible while still maintaining social distancing. One of our tech-savvy volunteers took it upon themselves to design our very own app, and this was packed full of games, activities and videos, including things like cooking demonstrations, sing-alongs, dementia-friendly comedy and more. It also linked to a weekly Wee Blether on Zoom, which was hosted each week by our befriending team. And this Zoom still in fact runs to this day, and the regular group of ladies who attended have made great friends throughout the pandemic to now. And this has now blossomed into an offline relationship, and they meet up in person when they can, while still catching up every week online. As restrictions eased, it was clear that the digital service was now a core part of Glasgow's Golden Generation services, and that's when I was brought in to lead and develop the project. We started off with offering one-to-one digital support in service users' homes on a weekly basis, and then less frequently as their confidence grew. The older adults we were seeing were so grateful for the support and came on leaps and bounds over the weeks and months. Many had never used the internet before, but were now connecting with friends and family through video calls, on social media. They were streaming content and accessing different online services. As a result of COVID, many council and health services went online with limited options to speak to staff in person or over the phone. This really isolated a lot of older adults and made it very difficult for them to access information. One of our service users' blue disability badge expired and she couldn't get through to the council on the phone, only getting an automated message signposted to the council website. With our support, she was able to renew the badge online by using her new tablet and uploading the relevant documents by taking pictures of them. She was over the moon that she was able to do this, but with this success story, there will have been countless others who had been digitally excluded from being able to perform tasks like this online. We knew that we wanted to reach more people with our service, so we started up group sessions in our day centres and with our other partners across the city. One of our great charity partners is Sky Broadband and Television. They've supported us over the years by volunteering in our day centres, hosting Christmas parties for our service users, and just giving us donations. And throughout the pandemic, they were impressed with our digital service. And in October last year, we launched our Sky Up digital hub in the West End of Glasgow. This is a digital hub, and it's newly renovated in a space in one of our day centres. And it's a place where our service users can get support getting online. There are tablets and laptops available, a fast broadband connection, a Sky Glass TV, and plenty of support through our Sky volunteers and our digital inclusion officers. In this hub, there are two types of support that we offer. First of all, we host digital cafes where service users attend a weekly class where we all work off of a worksheet designed to practice the basic skills of using the internet. We start off with a quiz on different subjects ranging from gardening to football, and unlike a pub quiz, using Google is encouraged to help find the answers. These are then sent by email to myself for marking. The second half of the digital cafe is led by the service user's suggestions and can range from advice on staying safe online, help with downloading an app, and the apps include things like BBC iPlayer or the Your Library app, where books and audiobooks can be read and listened to. Supermarket apps are also so important these days. For example, without accessing the Tesco Club card, people were excluded from getting discounts and the best price for their shopping. Tesco have now even stopped giving out physical club cards, so accessing it online is now the only option. We strive to be dementia friendly in our digital cafes and make sure that they are inclusive to all who attend. This includes offering larger print, alternative formats, using images and keeping instructions simple. We also use the digital hub to host drop-in sessions where service users can stop by for help with more bespoke issues. This could range from getting help with setting up a new phone, practice video calling a friend or family member, or even help with submitting gas and electricity meter readings. We've also supported older adults with doing things like online referrals for receiving a pendant alarm, which is another service that's moved online as a result of the pandemic. Since launching our Sky Up Digital Hub, we've supported more than 100 adults, older adults, in getting online. I am told that before the pandemic, there were a few discussions in our charity about whether or not to create a digital service. However, as an organisation, we decided not to move forward with this at that time, as some people wrongly assumed that older adults didn't want to learn and would find it too hard to get to grips with technology. Well, I'm delighted to say that we were certainly proved wrong, and our success stories speak for themselves. And I can confirm that our #1 fan on Facebook is 104-year-old Betty, who's forever liking and sharing and interacting with our posts. Working in the third sector can be challenging for many reasons. The constant chase for funding and the risk of projects ending due to lack thereof is always over our heads, but seeing the difference we're making in older adults' lives makes it worth it. No adult deserves to be excluded in any way, and in this day and age, digital exclusion is certainly prominent. But we will continue to work against this and put the support in place for our service users to thrive online. Thank you.
Thanks very much, Shaun, and that's a tremendous number of people supported through the pandemic. It's quite staggering figures for an organisation like yourselves. Do we have any questions for Shaun? Dawn's asking if there was any commonality between the participants and service users as you set up. Yeah? Is that right, Dawn? For problems. Commonality of problems.
Yeah, there's certainly things that a lot of people experience. One thing was even just like when turning on the device at first, there was a lot of accessibility issues, like font is always just preset to be quite small. So that was something that always immediately we would do, kind of make sure that the device is accessible, making the font size bigger, things like that. Another thing that's common as well, that people growing up with technology and even people who are maybe 40s, 50s, we've grown up with this technology, got used to it through our work and things like that. But so it's kind of intuitive to all of us. The devices, you don't really realise it until you think about it, but lots of the devices and websites just have pictures on them, as in just like little icons that for us it might be intuitive to look at this wee small icon and it looks like a pen, so that means write an email. Whereas someone who's never used these devices, just knowing what these little pictures mean is something that was a common issue as well. So we've got sort of the printouts of the common icons and what they tend to mean. So yeah, that was another thing. But yeah, lots of people experiencing things like even just what the internet was. There's quite often a moment when speaking to someone about the internet and their device for the first time where their mind is kind of blown. It's like, oh my goodness, I can't believe that the information that can be accessed on these. I kind of tried to explain Google as a big online encyclopedia where you can access all the information at your fingertips, past, and then quite often what we do is try to find the hook with our service users. So maybe ask what they're interested in. So maybe a singer like Frank Sinatra, then we'll bring up YouTube and bring up maybe a live concert of his or an interview from the 50s or 60s, and they're just like, oh my goodness, I never thought I would see something like that again. So yeah, that's what we try to do, try to find the hook, see what our service users are interested in, and then use that hook to try and get them more interested, and then they'll be more interested in learning about other aspects of the internet.
Second question. Sure.
Do you think there are difficulties with older people being able to afford technology and or broadband? Do you think that there are
The question is, have you experienced a lot of difficulties with older people being able to afford devices and the broadband connection and so on?
Yeah, absolutely. Again, through the nature of our work, some of the people are referred to our service through different aspects of the charity. So quite often it will be people referred through our welfare service. So they're people who are already identified as needing access to more benefits and not having a lot of money. So over the last few years, we've just been very fortunate through different grants, through council, Scottish Government, through private grants. So we've been able to purchase or have been gifted around 250 tablet devices. So all of our service users who come to us either already had their own device, or if they didn't have their device, they've been able to practice on one of ours, and if they've been interested, we've been able to gift one to them. But again, having access to the internet at home is also an expense. But again, we've just been quite fortunate that through different partners, like phone companies like Vodafone, for example, they gift us with SIM cards with access to the internet for free for 1 year. We've also been able to purchase Wi-Fi devices that are like small portable Wi-Fi devices that you can easily set up and carry around with you or set up in your home. So we've been fortunate in that way by what we're doing is quite fundable at the moment. So we've had some money to purchase these things, but you are right, a lot of people would be financially excluded without having the support from us through actually getting the devices themselves, access to the internet, and also the digital inclusion classes. So yeah, there are lots of ways that people would be excluded, but fortunately our charity has been able to kind of step in for those who haven't been able to buy devices themselves.
Thank you. So now I'd like to invite Abram, Moonika, Shuvarthi and Rada to tell us about the findings from Dignity within the digital.
So first of our wonderful ESRs to present their findings is Abraham Kebede from Brighton University. I'm going to make a signal to you at about 10 minutes, so don't think I'm just saying hello. Thank you, Abraham.
Thank you. Thank you. I hope you all will hear me. So it's very difficult. I mean, when you are writing a long thesis, maybe to sort of summarize everything in 10 minutes. But I will try, and I will specifically focus on some of the important findings I want to sort of illustrate and sort of show highlights. So it says thrown on the scrap heap, meanings of digital dignity for older adults. So this was actually a quote I directly took from one of the participants, which expressed her experience as being thrown on the scrap heap. So we have published review protocol and review from when we started the dissertation. So it has now out there, and that one is not important. It's just the counts of the title and the abstract of the included studies in the review. And of course, you can actually snowball the words and understand what are some of the important words that are mentioned in the title and abstracts. So I think this background, you will hear it today. So our population, the age demographic shows population aging is a global phenomenon, and the increase is both in size and proportion. It's both absolute in number and relative to other age as well. And there is high social and healthcare demand that is associated with that. And societal digital transformation is very fast-paced societal digital transformation happening. So this digital development has been sought as one of the potential to sort of elevate and provide these services potentially. However, there is still a digital divide between ages, and in the UK alone, for example, 13.5% of older adults don't have access to internet, and if you take the age group of 75 and above, it becomes around 47%, so which you can see. Previously, research has focused on the instrumental aspect of digital technology, and the aim is to sort of improve the product. So the instrumental aspect is about the materiality, it's about the functionality, and it's about the interoperability nature of the technology. But recently, especially after 2010, there has been an emphasis on user experience, user-centered research, which sort of brought this idea of the instrumental aspect of quality. There are qualities such as autonomy, independence, and one of the ultimate, I think, value is dignity, for example, so human dignity. So we are sort of taking this further to understand dignity. So in the past, there has been debates whether dignity is important or not important. We subscribe, I think we all in this room think dignity is useful and it has a linguistic currency. It's a very umbrella term, so we have to start sort of developing and articulating and sort of delineating the contexts in which dignity happens. So dignity in care is different from dignity in digital technology. So we have to start articulating that. So we sort of conceptualized digital engagement as a continuum. So we sort of take one person journey throughout the technologies. Of course, I'm not suggesting it's linear. So someone, at some point, someone is non-user, and of course, there will be a lot of negotiations and decisions that goes, and there are a lot of factors that facilitate and challenge someone to decide to use technologies. And the sustained engagement is about the temporal dimension, the quality of use over a long period of time. So that is what we are trying to draw upon in the lived experience research, which is about complex, dynamic, and experience in situated aspects. So specifically, my study is there, older adults experience. So we are trying to draw all these disciplines and try to draw some insights for dignity. In terms of methodology, I used a life-ordered phenomenological approach. I draw heavily on Peter Ashworth's work and a lot of Heidegger, probably because he's the foremost philosopher of technology, and the sort of Sheffield School analysis. So phenomenologically, humans are embedded, absorbed, and embodied. I think that is one advancement of phenomenology from the past idealistic, like agential, rational, and individualistic. So we are here sort of proposing this, and at the same time, so my sort of that is where the sort of the ontological, epistemological stance comes as well. It's about our everyday practical involvement in the world. It's about everyday coping. It's even with digital technologies, it's about our skill, about our expertise. So in order to develop that into a scientific phenomenological investigation, I have talked to 11 participants between the age of 65 and 89 years, and that is what I will be presenting. So I'm aware I have 10 minutes. So Ashworth has these two premises for the use of the life-ordered fraction. So one premise is lived through experiences are interwoven with the rest of individuals' life order. They are not sort of free-floating. So that means there are, so this second premise actually strengthens the first premise that there are certain elements that cannot be but expected to show themselves. So these are some of the elements that are inevitably found in every individual life order and in every experience. So these fractions are temporality, spatiality, embodiment, intersubjectivity, selfhood, project, and mood. However, all these fractions won't have equal weight in all the phenomena, and at the same time, they are very overlapping and interwoven. So I have especially developed some interest in the embodiment aspect because of, with older people, there is capability changes in their eye, in their hearing, in their, dexterity and motor, and which part of the capability changes can we retain, for example, with sort of cognitive aspect as well, whether there are some studies that demonstrate that there are fluid and crystallized sort of intelligence that we can retain. For example, our skill of language, we retain into late our life. So things like that. So these are the steps I used for data analysis. It's a bit of from here and there. I don't think it's important to go through all the steps. So I will read an excerpt from my sort of general description, and the ones I put in red are sort of developing into become constituents. So everyday digital technology manifested as awakening the perception of being and becoming an older person. Older adults perceived their technology use resonating with the widely prevailing negative stereotypes that associate incompetence and lack of novelty with old age, which could be a precursor to sort of an internalized and reinforced identity. Participants expressed demanding confrontation by the constant acceleration of change in technology. This is also called technological pacing, and which is occurring at a pace that is impossible for older adults to keep up and to cope. The sense of temporality with such accelerated changes in technology was disempowering to older people, as it leaves inadequate room for learning and for choice. So, yes, so in terms of developing sort of dignity further, in terms of contextualizing and developing, so Galvin told us 2016 they have published a paper that dignity has an experiential and relational aspect, which is very true in my empirical work. And I am trying to show here, as we go from the outer circle to the inner circle, I am trying to show where dignity is raptured. So it's a continuum from rapture to restoration of digital technology. So, so I have this dignity as embodied relations, dignity as an empowerment, as a sense of empowerment, dignity as digital access and accommodation, dignity of interpersonal relations, and dignity of perceptions of self and others. So the last two, this one is overlapping on the experiential and relational aspect, and this one is relational aspect in terms of the sense of dignity. So, so these are some of the quotes from my participants. So I will read it as it is, I think, if I have time. So I will just illustrate some of the quotes. So, for example, in terms of disembodied, in terms of physical, their bodily changes, an older person commented, I have some difficulty in keeping things. I'm a bit clumsy. I tend to drop things, and the smartphones I have seen, they tend to have to be held in hand. So he's sort of expressing his dexterity, motor difficulty issues that came due to age-related changes. So in terms of sense of empowerment, we have used it and managed to take a photograph and send it to them. It was a lesion on the hand. This worked very well. It worked like a clockwork because you can be on the phone forever to get appointments. Instead, you can go online. So this was a particular experience of an older person which used an online consultation during the pandemic. In terms of another empowering experience of digital technology is I'm terrible at organizing, storing stuff. So having an app that does sort of thing for me, I wanted to record my calories and weight over a year. I started using tracking my steps and activities, and I started using my FitnessPal in 2015. I can track my weight back to 6 years. So this person tracked his weight and his calorie as well. So this is important, empowering dimension of technologies. Here I have, for example, an example for the disembodied or lack of basic digital skills. For example, I think these are some of the quotes. Do I have?
Keep going if you want another.
Oh, or should I just summarize, conclude? Oh, okay. So, for example, from the disembodied lack of the digital skills, someone said, that is what freaks me out. Have I done this wrong? Did I break the internet? Or is it a glitch? Or the internet connection? So these are some of the examples that comes because digital technology is not something that is embodied, and they don't have the embodied competency to sort of perform the basic digital skills. And I have some quotes here, and I will go to the, I think I will talk about here. I find this cartoon very important, especially on the relational dimension, because it resonated with my findings. So this older person is saying, so he's asking for help, and so the younger person here is saying, easy, here you go. So, and it's done. So just like that. So we have different sort of understanding, you see, especially in terms of quality of support and the interrelational aspect of digital technology, even if sometimes intergenerational living might have been preferred to sort of as it promotes quality digital support. So this is another thing that I'm trying to develop in terms of mastery embodiment, in terms of mastery in disruption. This is Heideggerian in nature, but at the same time including a social dimension where there can be a disembodied connection and disembodied disconnection in terms of the present. So I will discuss just the conclusion part. So we do have some implications that we want to take forward. This is still work in progress, and I'm happy to discuss if you have feedbacks, and I have posted there as well, so I am happy to discuss in detail some part of this. And so dignity has experiential and relational aspect, and it is at most of importance. Technology has implication in areas such as privacy, autonomy, agency, learning, and choice. Digital technologies expand interpersonal relationship and enhance social connection. So in terms of practice, we need to empower older adults through embodied competency and digital facilitation, as it helps them to maximize their control, accessibility, inclusivity, and providing adequate room for choice and learning. Policy need to prioritize the development and implementation of technologies that uphold the dignity of older adults. Measures should be taken to ensure that digital technologies are accessible, inclusive, and designed to support older adults' autonomy and identity. Policy initiatives should focus on promoting digital literacy, skills, training for older adults to enable them to navigate digital landscape and effectively. So there is a lot of research that can be done in terms of actual understanding what embodied competencies, what are the changes, and continuing the sort of articulating digital dignity, the digital dignity. So thank you very much. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, that was great. Are there any questions? Fiona.
Thanks, that's a very interesting talk. Did you get a sense of how much use of digital technology has accelerated as a result of COVID?
So the question is, did you get a sense of how digital technology may have accelerated due to COVID?
Yes, very much. Because my data collection was actually during that window period of where the pandemic was heavy and everybody was actually reading on WhatsApp and having this sort of group activities on Zoom. And so it is in every part of my data as well. So I have seen that. I didn't particularly wait for the trend, like the quantitative trend, but in terms of older people's experience as well, I think many of people have found the support as well, and they have picked in technologies. It's very widely spread, I would say. The pandemic was an opportunity if we took it for that aspect of, yeah.
Great, thank you, Abraham. Is there anyone else who... Caroline.
Thank you, everyone. It was really interesting. Younger people really worry about how they present themselves online. Was that something that you found with older people as well?
Thank you. So the question is, younger people really worry how they present themselves online, and was that something that you found with the older people?
It's very ambivalent in that sense. I think even for older people, some older people found it was very empowering, for example, to exercise through Zoom. As they said, I'm just a small screen. So the experience was very diverse. But some people were like, yeah, it's very tiring. I have to do a lot of work to sort of be presentable, even if it is online. So, and to put on the videos and all that. So it was very ambivalent in that sense.
Thank you.
Sorry, I can ask a question about digital support dynamics that you talked about. So do older people want someone to say, the quick, do they want someone to show them how to do it, or are they just wanting someone to fix it?
So that is...
Sorry, the question is, do older people want someone just to fix it for them, or do they want to take a longer time to learn more about how that works?
If it is, I think, in the learning experience, so older people do find it very important to have someone, if they are, for example, living in the intergenerational sort of setting, they find it very useful that someone will always help them in terms of fixing it. But they want to learn as well. So especially this is important when they go to some, digital support facilities in the community. People don't have the patience, to show them. So that is what they are discussing in terms of being patient, in terms of making it tailored, in terms of sort of knowing the speed of learning, so that is the experience. So it depends. If it is in the family, I think having someone to help is always is positive, and it also influences actually digital adoption as well. So if I have participants which have adopted using different apps because their daughters, because their granddaughters sort of installed for them. So yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks, Abraham. Great. Thank you. So up next is Moonika Raja from Nord University in Norway, and I think she's presenting online, so we'll just have a slight pause for digital setup.
Thank you so much for this opportunity to be here today. As you heard, my name is Moonika Raja, and the aim of my study is to society digital demands and needs in healthcare services in order to view the dignity of Norwegian adults aged 75 years and older from new perspectives. And it consists of 3 parts. And I couldn't do this all by myself. I have amazing supervisors. My main supervisor is Professor Lisbeth Thorenfeldt, and co-supervisors are Professor Inge Kåre from Nord University, Associate Professor Jorunn Björkan from Nord University, and Professor Kate Galvin from University of Brighton. Demographic changes are leading to an aging population. 1 in 9 people are 70 years or older in Norway. Norwegian authorities are prioritizing the development of national digital health solutions, and e-consultations with general practitioner in Norway increased 1,000% from February to March 2020, and it was when that pandemic lockdown started in Norway. Digitalization impacts older adults, and age-related digital divide affects aspects of technology use, and at the same time, all the citizens should have easy access to healthcare services. Digital demands can affect older adults' dignity. Preserving patients' dignity and autonomy when using digital technology in healthcare is very important. This study helps to highlight the needs of older adults as end users, gives information about older adults' dignity in digitally led healthcare, and gives insights into how to preserve older adults' dignity when using digital technology in healthcare. My study started with an overview of literature on historical digital development over 20 years that older people in Europe have been part of. It has an international perspective. And the research was expanded by interviews about older adults' experiences and expectations of digitally led healthcare in Norway with a local perspective. And third sub-study was about theoretical documents, analysis of digital strategies and eHealth policies in 3 Scandinavian countries concerning older adults and their dignity. There are written 4 articles about this study. 3 of them have been published in international peer-reviewed journals, and 4th of them is still in review in BMC Health Services Research. And as I already said, the overall aim is to address societal digital demands and needs in healthcare services in order to view the dignity of Norwegian adults aged 75 years and older. And each sub-study had its own aim too, as you can see here on the screen. And these 3 sub-studies are interconnected, and they contribute to the aim of this study. And they were synthesized to provide a broader and more in-depth understanding of the results, that it wouldn't be possible like only these 3 studies separately. And circularity of understanding is underlined by using hermeneutical synthesis that covers different levels of reflection. And now I'm going to talk a little bit about the results. I will start with the first sub-study. Older adults have experienced that technology makes life easier and the opposite. Telemedicine has potential to be useful for older adults, but it might take time to try out new devices. Technical problems, need for help, and functional limitations due to age are all seen as barriers when using digital technology. Facilitators are a possibility to get in touch with someone, and technology being easy to use. Interestingly, both social support and lack of social support were both stated as facilitators. About sub-study number 2, we found the essential structure of meaning, and I would like to read it for you. Older adults experienced that using new digital systems in healthcare lead to them becoming dependent and gives rise to a sense of helplessness. They feel an increased sense of dependency on other people, and that in turn assails their experience of personal dignity. Older adults expect that digitally led healthcare will give a sense of safety, but it also produces a feeling of insecurity concerning privacy and loss of the relational aspect of having a productive dialogue with healthcare providers and being treated as individuals. Participants are subjected to demands from society in terms of being expected to know how to use the systems, and are thrown into situations where they have to acquire new skills promptly, which they often struggle to achieve. And the third part of my study about the document analysis. Documents describing national digital strategies focused on access to digital technologies and continuous learning for digital skills. Documents describing national eHealth policies underlined the importance of patient in the center of healthcare and feeling of safety that digital systems can provide. But both types of documents were concerned about digital devices' security, access to data, and human dimension of relationships and caring. And the 3 studies were synthesized to provide a broader understanding, and the results gave 4 main themes. Now about the results. What have older adults experienced when using new digital systems in healthcare? How to get from one side to the other side? And these illustrations for my research are made by Jonas Silve. Older adults experienced that using new digital systems in healthcare leads to them becoming dependent and gives rise to a sense of helplessness. They feel an increased sense of dependency on other people, and that in turn assails their experience of personal dignity. There are concerns about reduced human contact in healthcare, and fear of what lies ahead. Older adults experience that it is important to hear other person's voice and feel someone's presence. The importance of human contact and being treated as individual affects the experience of dignity. Older people experience obstacles such as lack of basic knowledge, lack of instructions, rapid changes in the program, technology not working, and missing access to the systems when using digitally led healthcare systems. And constant learning is needed. Older adults have concerns about privacy. There are worries that healthcare robots' camera might not respect their privacy. The participants also express that they lack information about eHealth systems, how these systems are used, and who and when has access to their personal data. Technology gives older adults a sense of safety because it helps to reach assistance. The possibility of contacting healthcare services if something happens and being followed up makes person feel safe. To preserve human dignity in demanding innovations is challenging. If we want older people to benefit from new technology and eHealth systems, we should acknowledge these challenges. There is a spectrum of variation of emphasis. On the one hand, digital technology makes older people insecure and increases a sense of vulnerability. But on the other hand, digital technology in healthcare systems gives a sense of safety and opens up for new opportunities. The results of this study help to find new ways of engaging with older people to shape digital developments. It provides analysis of impacts of new technology and digitally led healthcare on the dignity and well-being of older adults. And this information is important for authorities, for policymakers, for older adults' families and close ones, and also for healthcare providers. Thank you.
I have been talking about this topic of co-designing digital health technologies for older people. Now, this is the third year going on. And the interesting thing is that each time with me that I learn different things from this topic. So my topic is co-designing of digital health technologies for older people. So my research aim was to co-design new dignified technologies for care settings in participation with older people living in the UK. Now I know there are terms which are very technical, which might sound a bit complicated, so I'm here to help them out. So when I say co-design, the basic of co-design, as you can see, this woolen structure, what was happening is, before people, when they were designing technologies, they were using users at the end of the product cycle. Now, as companies started designing new products, they came to an understanding that if they have to modify products at a later stage, they will have to have a very expensive contribution or a huge resource investment in that process. So, right in that direction, in 2006, the concept of co-designing came in, and it's been used in nursing also these days. So right from the product stage of having the user's experience, the user was pulled back to exactly the front of the design chart, where you can see there is a fuzzy kind of a structure where we are trying to find out the design criteria. So what happened was, when they involved older people at the earlier stage of the design, the prototype and the concepts generated were excellent. the product acceptance also improved. So in my case of this study, because I'm working with a group of technologies, which is termed as digital health technologies, which I'll show shortly, in my case, I didn't look at a particular prototype or a particular design. So my studies were up till a concept point of view, which can be extrapolated in later studies by other researchers. So the basic question comes, why older people's participation is necessary in studies? So if we look into this circle, this is again the third year I'm showing this circle. So older people's views are not sought. From there, if we start, so when their views are not sought, designers are failing to recognize their needs. And once they fail to recognize their user needs, there are inappropriately designed products and services. So these inappropriately designed products and services lead to older people reluctant to engage with this kind of products. So involving older people in research design of this kind of technologies help us create better kind of products, and that's why co-design was so important to me. So digital health technologies, you might be using some of them, you might not be using some of them. So they range from telehealth applications to wearable devices to smartphone applications where you might check on Google about your health, or you might be using YouTube to do yoga. I had participants who were on Zoom learning ballet dancing during COVID, which helped them with their well-being. So it also changed my understanding of what the concept of digital health technology can be. And I feel it's an important contribution from my study. So I had 2 literature reviews. The first one was meta-ethnography to understand the dignity perspectives within the lived experiences of older people with digital health technology. So why it was essential for me was that there was a dearth of literature on the conceptual understanding of dignity in relation to human-technology relationship. Therefore, it was necessary for me to take up this meta-ethnography to specifically understand the concept of dignity within homebound peoples, older people's lived experiences with the digital health technologies. So my research question was, what are the underlying dignity perspectives in homebound older people's lived experiences with digital health technologies in home care settings? So from the methodological aspects, I used the traditional meta-ethnography approach of Nobleton here, and followed by a lifehold-led dignity-sensitive lens from Galvin and Todres, 2014, to illuminate the dignity perspectives within the empirical studies. So there is a prime assumption in this meta-ethnography that dignity is omnipresent as one of the core human values within human-technology relationship. So once this meta-ethnography concluded, I had an understanding of what the conceptual meaning of dignity is, specifically in relation to human-technology relationship. And as you can see, that it has been spread across within lifehold constituents of speciality, interpersonal, identity, finitude, and embodiment dignity. So the important aspect in this one is I found the continuum of experiences, and that continuum showed a range of ways how dignity can be enhanced or how dignity can be wounded in this studies. So once this meta-ethnography was finished, my next objective was to understand what sort of co-design approaches are there. And one of my key interests was, is there any combination of co-design with phenomenology within the studies? Because that would help me with my study as well. I know a lazy strategy, but yeah, I gave it a try. So I was asking what types of co-design approaches have been taken in primary studies involving older adults with co-designing of digital health technologies. So key insights from this review was that at the core of co-design process was need identification. So need identification in terms of what actually older people need in digital design. And there were iterative cycles of technology design. Next, most of the co-design studies, they were working on a single technological product than a group of digital health technologies. So this was a challenge for me because I was working on a group of technologies than a single product which was there in literature. The next point was that most of the data collection processes mostly involved a combination of in-depth interviews with focus group discussions. So this is something which I imbibed and got inspired from this study and used it later on in my empirical work. And there were hardly any studies involving co-design approaches with phenomenology. So that's a gap which I addressed. So for my empirical study, here if we look at the principle of co-design, you can see lovely three triangles, like pizza, yeah. So the first is what people think or say. So for that, they are suggesting a technique like interviews, and that caters to what people actually say. Those are the explicit needs which gets illuminated through the process. But this does not completely give us the need identification for older people. If we go deeper, like it's showing in the picture, it's also dependent upon observing the candidates while they're using technology or while we are communicating with those participants. Last but not the least, you can see tacit or latent needs. So these needs are mostly, like if I'm a boxer, unless you tell me to show my boxing skills, you won't be able to understand what my skills are. So those sort of needs were illuminated through generative sessions. So this used probes. So probes are different sort of maybe pictures, maybe some sort of structures, maybe some sort of paper cuttings, which actually evokes deeper human experiences which can be used and analyzed to design products. In my case, this was quite beneficial because along with the interviews, I was using photo voice. So photo voice involved practical pictures from the everyday life of older people with the digital technologies. So whichever digital technologies they were using, and they were happy to share with me, they took those pictures, and I triggered their experiences using those kind of pictures. So this was my research design based upon the principle which I explained now. That first, of course, the information pamphlet was distributed with 3 or 4 organizations. One of them, of course, you have just heard Shaun from Glasgow's Golden Generations. So Shaun was one of the partners who helped me out with distributing the pamphlet. Another was Impact Initiative in Brighton, so I'm very thankful to them. And last but not the least, U3A in Lewis. So the pamphlets were distributed through them, and the potential participants then contacted me through phone or email. Once they contacted me, I set up a questionnaire to fill up with them, and if they fulfilled my eligibility criteria for this study, then we proceeded to give them instant analog camera. So using that camera, they could take the picture easily and give it to me by post, or I could collect them from their location. So once that was done, then I scheduled interviews with them. And after the interview, there were co-design sessions, which comprised of an initial 15 minutes seminar with them, followed by a discussion using dialogal phenomenology, which I'll just describe. So first, phase 1, in in-depth interviews, we are trying to identify the barriers to digital health technology uptake. So my participants' characteristics, I did with 14 participants with mean age of 72.2 years, and majority of them were females living alone at their own residence. Most of them had high school education, but none of them had formal training in digital technologies. So the participants were from Glasgow, Brighton, and Hove and Lewis in the UK. Participants range from novice users to expert users of digital health technologies. And majority of the participants utilize mobile applications as a digital health technology on an average of 2 to 3 hours regularly. So these are some of the pictures which my research participants took, and this was used for this study. So for the first phase of the study, reflective life world principles were very helpful to me. So my worldview is that the world is staggered into patterns where internal parts interact with each other in a way where whole influences the parts and the parts the whole. So the context and the person are together. So life world is where our everyday experiences with other human beings and objects has meanings to our consciousness. So it has the constituents which I have just explained, temporality, spatiality, intersubjectivity, mood, and embodiment. So the process involved, Zoom call and in-person meeting with people. And I started with the question, so can you describe me a typical day in your life and the kinds of devices and technology that support your everyday life? And then this was followed up with life world-oriented questioning. A logbook was also maintained by me to keep a note of my own experiences while conducting the interview sessions and any remarks related to the interview. Participants were invited for subsequent interviews if further clarifications were needed. So, from the key insights that I got, that technical aspects, design lacks consideration of the physical and cognitive conditions of old age. So one of the participants did tell me, I find the keyboard on a smartphone a bit of a challenge because I've gotten a bit clumsy with my fingers that I have to retype because I have pressed the wrong key. And I think for a lot of older people, that will be a real problem. I know it's perfectly possible to buy a smartphone with a big keyboard, but they seem a bit more limited. So there was also technology malfunctions which lowered the self-confidence of participants. Some technologies were perceived as intrusive agents. And cost of devices, simplicity of use, availability of device informations are important design considerations when we are designing digital health technologies. So for individual aspects, I found the following ones. And the key here would be, the key message would be trust with technology. It's not only the trust on the technology that we buy beforehand, but it's also when we are using the technology, how the trust develops. Those are something which would be important to know. And from interpersonal aspects of barrier, I found that there's a lack of human touch in digital design. One of my participants said, I find it difficult to relate to the image of someone rather than the presence of someone. So there was also a lack of inclusion of older people's opinion in digital design, and this is one of the key things we need to consider while we are designing products. And in the second phase, I did co-design workshops to identify the strategies to enhance dignity and human perspectives in digital design for older people. This was based on dialogal phenomenology, which constitutes a process of dialogue between the group members rather than following predefined steps or procedure with data collection and interpretation. There was a reflective conversation between my research participants, which helped me get data and understanding of what can be the dignity aspects within this design. So the process involved online co-design workshops comprising of 3 participants each from the previous study. I facilitated the group conversation, and the co-design session was initiated through a process of delivering selective excerpts acquired from the previous study with a persona kind of structure. So this allowed the participants to enter into the experience directly and immediately and offer me key insights about what they're thinking. This process also made me able to question my own pre-understanding on the topic and challenged myself in multiple instances. The discussion followed response to the excerpts, searching for potential solutions to improve technology uptake, and understanding what dignified technology would truly mean to older people. So, dignity in technology and implications that I have got from the first wave of this analysis, that human values like trust, autonomy, empathy, and sense of security can closely influence dignity within digital designs for older people. Mutual intrinsic valuing of each other's existence, that is care providers and older people, is core to ensuring dignity in digital designs. Trust with technology and trust on technology both are crucial factors in ensuring dignity in digital designs. Sense of security with technology can be assured through enhanced privacy and letting the presence of technology at home through a process of consent of older people. Next, efforts to enhance self-valuing of older people by involving them in simple fun activities like online gaming can really enhance their dignity of identity. Creating projects which involve family members in supporting roles for older people for troubleshooting purposes can help older people adapt to new technologies. So my recommendations: expanding the nomenclature of user-centric design with human value-centric approaches. The national digital inclusion programs may include strategies to involve family members directly in the project to assist older people with technologies. Further research into the domain of trust with technology and trust on technology can possibly improve technology design for older people. These are my supervisors. I'm extremely thankful to them for helping me out. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, Shuvarthi. Is there any questions for Shuvarthi? Yes.
So what do you think very much of this great presentation, great work? I think you did interviews online, right? You did the interviews online?
I did interviews online and face-to-face. 10 interviews were done online and 4 were done face-to-face. 4 were done face-to-face because they didn't have access to any digital technologies. So I wanted a spectrum of users from who are really using and who are absolutely not using.
So you couldn't answer my question, because my question was because this person not doing interviews online, maybe they were possibly doing this book. The disposition was possible because of the technology, but we've got a range of interviews, so you have a range.
Yes. Yes.
So the question was, were they predisposed positively towards technology because they were interviewed online, but not everyone was interviewed?
Yes.
Online?
Yes.
Great. Thank you. Oh.
Shuvarthi, thank you for your presentation. Have you shared your human values approach with any other digital developers? And if yes, what have their thoughts been about it?
Has the human values approach been shared with other digital developers, and if so, what did they think of it?
No, not from my point of view, but honestly, the UK National Centre of Aging is now, just recently, is considering including this sort of human value approach in design. But I think still they are at a very novice stage, and where we have gone, we can help them out with this knowledge and see if things can go.
Great, thank you, Shuvarthi. Thanks everyone. Rada's here. Rada Spaho from Nord University. Welcome, Rada. The floor is yours.
Thank you. Hi. I'm Rada, and I will present the project Wearable Devices and eHealth Solutions in Palliative Care for Older People. This is a result of mutual work with my supervisors in a huge, as you know, EU-funded InnovateDignity project. And the project aims to find in what ways wearable devices and eHealth solutions enable dignified palliative care for patients aged 65 years and older. Wearable devices are some kind of devices that a patient is wearing on his body. They can enable some measurements, or they can be simple, just to call for help. And one of them is the safety alarm, which has only one button, like this one. I hope you can see it. So the patient can press the button and alarm the health institution that needs help. Healthcare professionals, such as nurses, physicians, and specialists, communicate through eHealth solutions. That means that they communicate electronically through reports, forms, and messages, which contain information about the patients, like medical records, medication prescriptions, home care visits, documentation, hospital records, etc. Palliative care is care provided to patients who has a limited lifespan, from several months to 1 year of life. Palliative care is provided by healthcare professionals who can work in different healthcare institutions, but together they work as a palliative team. However, this study found out that different healthcare institutions use different eHealth solutions, which do not communicate together. They are not interoperable. Or in simple words, they provide limited share of patients' information. Therefore, there is no timely exchange of information about the patient's health condition. This can cause risks for the continuation of patient treatment and safety. Older patients may have comorbidities, and palliative patients' condition can rapidly change. So I will give an example. Palliative patient can visit different institutions in the same week, and that can lead to prescribing different medications list, for example, from healthcare professionals working in different institutions, because institutions don't get information simultaneously or don't have access to laboratory or other diagnostic results at all. In this project, we found out that healthcare professionals experience this lack of up-to-date patient information as dangerous, so they use additional ways to update themselves. This includes using their own personal and professional networks, calling members of palliative team from other institutions, using other different eHealth solutions, applications, anything to get the overview and safeguard the patient. Controversially, this only made the feeling of being a member of the team stronger and developed more direct coordination and raised their knowledge that they all depend on each other in providing proper care for palliative patients. At the same time, this means that healthcare professionals have to be always aware, focused, and alerted, and use extra measures and extra time to safeguard the patient. Bringing more eHealth solutions is not a solution, as they do not communicate together, so they are not complementary, but on the contrary, time-consuming. The healthcare professionals put the patient in the center and try to fulfill the patient's wishes and needs because of the obstacles with eHealth solutions. Palliative teams have formed a kind of hierarchy in their work, where the patient comes first, then the mutual dialogue between colleagues, and the eHealth solutions are at the bottom, as something obligatory that you need to do to document your work. On the other hand, there is a possibility for patients to use wearable devices. These palliative patients, with the help of wearable devices, can stay at home as long as possible, and their treatment can be adjusted by the members of the palliative team for monitoring wearable devices. However, measurements are transferred from the device to eHealth solution, which unfortunately does not communicate with others. Therefore, it is a double job for members of the palliative team to enter it into the main eHealth solution to be visible to others, healthcare professionals. Preliminary results from interviews with the patients showed that patients feel safe with the use of wearable devices, have trust in the palliative team, and are satisfied with the care provided. Considering the main obstacle of not getting up-to-date information and the inability of sharing information about the patient, without the efforts of healthcare professionals, palliative care couldn't be dignified if it was just relying on eHealth solutions. The main pillar in providing dignified palliative care is humans, healthcare professionals, who see the patient and the family members as whole persons with different needs, and not only for treatment and care, but for providing a holistic approach. Finding a solution to how to make different eHealth solutions communicate and share up-to-date information would solve lots of obstacles, and then could eHealth provide dignified palliative care by allowing healthcare professionals more time for being with the patient. Thank you.
That was about whether in Norway there's a move to increase digital technologies in palliative care, and are professionals worried about that?
It is moving towards more and more digital, but there is also the other part that they are aware of all these risks. And there are also companies that are working on making some solutions. And through this project, I also got some ideas how this can be solved. Because if the eHealth solutions communicate together and you provide the up-to-date information, then that everyone can access to, then the healthcare professionals would be satisfied, because they would know where the patient is, if he is in the hospital and or at home, because sometimes they don't know that, they don't have that information either. That's why I said the solution is to make all of them communicate together, the eHealth solutions, because otherwise healthcare professionals are communicating usually by phone, and phone is not very good at documenting solution. So.
Okay, that's really helpful. Thank you, Rada.
Okay,
that's great. Thanks, everyone, for a great session. Well done, all our speakers.